Cahokia Mounds, if you ever come back, definitely go to Cahokia Mounds.
Yes, I just learned about that place, and it's not too far from St. Louis. From if you're looking at it on a map, it's to the left, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. I just realized about that they had that. I did the secret space conference, and I did all that stuff, and then I'm watching the History Channel or something, and it's like they're talking about. I was like, damn, we could have went there. So
Yeah.
with the mounds, that's like the tallest mound in North America, if I ain't mistaken. There's something special about it.
It could be that also, but it's the most ancient city in North America, in the whole continent. That site is the oldest, most ancient site. So, and it's a World UNESCO site. So it's similar to the pyramids. That's our version of the pyramids, basically. And there's a lot of UFO activity around there. And it's a mystery to where all of the Native Americans went. They just up and disappeared. And it was the biggest city, like ancient times, the biggest city. Like it'd be like, I don't know, like the Mayans, except for the United States version. Whenever I began like communicating and seeing these UFOs and stuff, they actually showed me visions, like sent me visions telepathically of Cahokia Mounds.
Really?
And,
wow.
Yeah. They gave me like a new history. Like they gave me kind of like just the history. They showed me the Cahokia Mounds with the Native Americans doing agriculture, farming, and then there's two different types of ETs standing there with them, and they had like a base underground under the mounds. So I believe, and you heard it here first if they ever dig it up, but that there is a base underneath Cahokia Mounds, an alien base.
Alien base. Okay. I was about to ask, is this an alien base or is this a Native American type underground facility base?
But there, and we're kind of like skipping ahead, but whenever I was meditating before, I met some beings from Inner Earth, and they looked Native American, like very Native American. And I got that, I believe that's where that city disappeared to. Some of Native Americans were taken underground.
Man, it looked like we started off right off
with a bang.
Yeah, we didn't waste any time.
Back up a little bit.
So, wow. For the mounds and everything. So was there anything special with the mounds? Was there anything else that's like, hey, there's something more to it, to our history with the mounds?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were any information about that?
Well, the energy there is very different. There's probably some sort of like portals or something, because it's very high energy, very high energy. I've gone there and meditated, and it's wild. So there's some other special things about it. I'm not sure exactly all what happened. I just know that there were Native Americans and ETs there.
Interesting.
Yeah, and basically St. Louis was built on top of like Indian burial grounds. Like all of St. Louis was basically that Native American city.
Really?
St. Louis, and then it's part of Illinois too. So I think it's technically like in Illinois, but it's literally like right on the border.
Gotcha.
And,
is that why that hotel's haunted, that St. Louis hotel?
that's what I was gonna say. I believe that is because Illinois is the most haunted place in the United States.
Oh, I didn't know
I've
that.
heard. Right, Illinois, like right where St. Louis is, right next to it. So I think that does have a lot to do with the energy that's just been here for a long time.
Hello, everybody. I have Lily Nova with me. And in today's video, I'm going to do something different outside the series. So this is something I was going to do in 2023, but things kind of brought some things together, Secret Space Conference, and some guided meditation with some crystal bowls and some ETs photos I heard about, and some UFO experiences. And I always wanted to do this type of video collaboration on the podcast as well. And this will be called Mysteries from the Quantum Realm. So this is something I wanted to do in 2023, but something with Instagram brought us together. And there was, I don't know how much details we want to go into, but there was someone impersonating another individual. I sent out a message. I felt it wasn't the proper person. It was a scammer, you could say. And then next thing you know it, I realized this was the wrong individual. I felt like a dummy. And then next thing you know it, I explained to you what happened. And then next thing you know it, she was like, hey, I'll still do the video collaboration with you as well. We'll talk about UFOs and any other mysteries that come up. And I'm like, okay, cool. So Lily, tell us about yourself. I know I had a little bit of time to check out the YouTube channel. So you do a little bit of everything. Channeling, if I'm not mistaken, UFO
Yeah.
experience, downloads as well. I know you have the YouTube channel. So what else can you tell us about yourself?
So I I started off as an astrophotographer. So I would take pictures of the night sky. Whenever COVID happened, that's what I began doing in the middle of lockdown, as I took my camera and started going out stargazing and taking pictures of like the Milky Way and things like that. So I just fell in love with it, and I would spend like every night out there. And a couple months in, or a few months in, I had my first UFO encounter, and then it was a very close encounter. Like, I was bending my neck looking up at this thing. It was like a diamond shaped craft, still like the closest, like biggest one that I've seen. And then it started coming straight for me and disappeared right above my head. I was shaking. So that was my introduction to UFOs and my realization that there's life on other planets. And after that, UFOs began visiting me a lot. I began seeing them a lot. And so I started documenting my experiences. It's like they would come around whenever I had my camera with me. So I was able to capture some evidence of it. And then I learned about CE5 and initiating contact with them. So I began doing that. Then a relationship developed, and I began like learning from them. We began communicating, and then I began meditating and began receiving visions and activating and just learning more about the ETs. So now what I do is I'll do like readings for people to help them find their star origins. And on YouTube, I do live guided activations where I call in the star beings. And basically I'm channeling like these really high frequencies, quantum healing, and all sorts of really cool stuff, and DNA activations. And I also
Okay.
that's like the number one thing is DNA activations and helping people to connect with their star families and their cosmic origin.
Any dream work?
Well, I do have dreams. Sometimes they will send me messages through my dreams, so that happens sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked, that was part of my assignment. I was supposed to find some dream workers. So I was wondering if you follow on. So what is the readings that you do? How does that work out? If someone's interested in a reading, how does that work out? What does someone expect from it? Or what is the process that you go through with them?
So I collect some information from them, whatever goals, whatever they want to learn most about, and like their name, birth date. And then I meditate for an hour beforehand. I receive a lot of my information through visions. So while meditating, I'll see their star origins, if there's any beings that they're connected with, and just whatever the higher realms want them to know, any like guidance and stuff like that. And then we do an hour Zoom call afterwards discussing my findings and steps that they can take.
With the ET experience, when did you first have your experience and what was it like? Was it right after the ship you said something happened, or was it later on or earlier before that?
Well, this ship that I saw was a pretty wild, and like I said, it was pretty close, and it came basically right up to me. There wasn't like a communication yet. They were kind of like breaking the ice with me. And then about a month later, I spent the night at a astronomy park surrounded by UFOs. I was afraid to leave because I was in my car by myself in the middle of cornfields. I was up there like stargazing, and then I was sitting in my car and I just like got a feeling, and I looked up, looked around, and there were hovering lights, like one in every direction. And so I began recording it because I was like, holy crap, I think these are UFOs. And I did that for hours. And then after that, I just started seeing them left and right. They started popping up left and right. So I just began documenting them. And then some months after that, I began more of a communication with them and actually got to see what some of them looked like.
Okay. Are you able to share what they look like?
Yeah. So the first one that I saw was during like my first CE5 where I initiated contact with them. And I actually had somebody else with me. I went to the astronomy park. We set out the intention to make contact, and a golden orb appeared. And it was like moving around to our questions. I closed my eyes and it sent me a telepathic vision of a woman with light blue skin, and she had no hair. So she was bald, but she was very beautiful, looked very human, and she had a silver skin tight like uniform on, and then there were crew members standing behind her. So that was the first one that I saw, and I saw the light blue ones a lot after that. Also, I've seen like the Pleiadians, the Nordic looking ones with blonde hair. I've seen feline beings like the Lyrans with the lion heads.
Sounds like you getting them all.
Yeah, there was a while there where I was just seeing all different kinds of ETs. They were like kind of bombarding me through visions. I'll see visions of them. Now it's kind of calmed down a little bit, and I don't always see so much, but I think they were like introducing me to all of the different types, I think.
Gotcha. And were you seeing them as visions, or were you seeing them like in person, like, hey, I see something over there? Or is it more like your third eye, kind of like you sensing something?
Yeah, through the third eye. It's almost like I'm remote viewing sometimes, where
I see.
because they've shown me like I've seen like on the ship, and it's like I was moving through the ship, like they were giving me a tour of this ship. It was like I was seeing what was going on there, where it'll be just like an image of one of them, a flash of one of them. And I've also been able to hear them. Sometimes I've like actually heard their voices, and
They weren't talking bad about you, huh? They're like, oh.
no, they were nice.
Gotcha. So here's an interesting question, because Sarah, when I did a video collaboration with her, and she does past life regression, QHHT, and one of the cool things that she had was when her client had a past life regression and she woke up on a ship, and come to find out when she was on the ship, she sees this alien being over her, and kind of feminine features, but she was like, I know this individual, and she's staring at the alien individual, and they're looking at each other, and she's like, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
And she's like, that is so weird. That is me, and I'm in the human body, but yet that is me as well. And I know it deals with time is interwoven and overlapping and so on. So did you ever have that kind of sense, like the people that you were seeing, or even that female blue being, like, is that you, or is that like your star family, anything like that?
Yeah, some of them I would see. I like knew that it was like me from like a past life or another life. The woman with the blue skin, and she began popping up a lot. Like she began teaching me. And she's the one who showed me the visions of like Kokia Mounds and the Native Americans, and was teaching me about spirituality, and that the past, present, and future are all happening at once. And after a few months or a couple months, she finally told me that it was actually me. The being that I had been communicating with, that had been teaching me and guiding me, was actually me. And shortly after that, I stopped seeing her. I don't know if she like integrated with me or what exactly happened, but she was with me like every day for months. And I think once I got to a certain point, then she was like, okay, like she's good.
You're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really trippy. It's really cool. I've also seen a future me who appeared through vision. It was a brunette Pleiadian woman, and she appeared and she gave me like a message to humanity, and she said she was me from the future.
Are you able to share, whether it's the blue being that was you or the future you? Are you able to share anything that you learned, any messages that they were sharing with you?
Well, the Pleiadian future me was basically saying that we were very special, that we have in our, she didn't say our DNA is special, but that's part of what, we have a special connection to source. We have special DNA and genetics, and we have a lot of potential, a lot of gifts that we can develop. And she said, do not let yourself be distracted or afraid. Focus on your heart. The heart is the key in the feeling of love, like that love, raising your vibration is basically like the key. And was just very supportive and compassionate, saying, that we're very special and to, support each other and lift each other up, and to begin remembering who we truly are, begin remembering, our potential. And then the blue one, she told me all sorts of things. I was like I was in like a boot camp with her. So she taught me how to develop my third eye and begin activating my different abilities and gifts. So I would meditate with her a lot. And then, she told me like that time is all happening all at once, and there's parallel lives, other lives, and in the Koki Mountains thing and stuff like that.
You think this would be funny too? You think you have a special connection, whether a past life with the Koki Mountains?
That could be, yeah. Oh, I didn't even like think about that, but yeah.
Because certain clients, they have a gravitational pull to a certain concept, a certain theme, a certain region, and then come to find out the reason why is because they're so connected to that region for a certain lifetime that they had. They're connected to it, just like with I'll bring up Sarah again, just like with her, she lives in close to Key West, and the reason why she's there because part of the experiments that the Atlanteans were doing was very close to that area, as close as they can get.
Wow.
Not that it was happening in Key West, but as close as they can get. And she moved over there to meet clients and to essentially, bottom line is to heal the area, to bring healing to that section of what happened back in the day. So it would be interesting, if you had a session and come to find out you had a past life there, and you'd be like, oh, that makes so much sense.
That could have been the blue woman who I saw. That could have been like my life then too. That she could have came from.
Gotcha.
That, yeah. But yeah, that definitely resonates. I think I do have a connection with.
Okay. You think the blue being lived there at one time? Like that was like her region where she lived?
Well, what I saw, she showed me like the Koki Mountains, the Native Americans, and she showed me like these blue beings, these other, and they were Lyran. She told me they were Lyran, and Pleiadians there. So, and I don't know if that was her specific life or she was just kind of showing me like
I see
the past. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm curious now.
So with that being said, you think it's a lot older than what people think? The mounds?
Probably. Yeah. People even, I don't know how old they think it is, but it's the oldest city in America. But yeah, it probably is older than they even think. And they've shown me also visions of dinosaurs and UFOs on the surface. So
what was that like?
that blew my mind. I was like, what? So they were telling me, hey, we've been here for a very long time.
Right. That's the point they're trying to get across is we've been here for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Were they doing anything, or were they just researching the area, just scoping it out kind of thing?
They just showed me kind of like flying around. But they also showed me like a war happening with different like UFOs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know like all the details about that, but there's definitely like an ET war on Earth a long time ago. And intuitively with the dinosaurs, I feel like maybe some of those beings created them and then realized that, okay, humanity cannot, people can't like flourish on a planet like that because they're so aggressive. So I feel like they actually like got rid of them is kind of what I think, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I know that they did take some of them. So they've shown me visions of inner Earth. My first vision I had of inner Earth, there was a long-necked dinosaur down there. So I think that they did take some of them underground.
What was the underground part all about? Was that a long time ago during the dinosaur age? It went underground?
I didn't get the feel. I got the feel of the long necked dinosaur in the inner Earth. I got the feel that that wasn't like too long ago.
Okay.
Something that's probably still going on now. And it was like very tropical looking. There was like a big illuminated, something big and illuminated that was shining, light, and it looked, a pretty normal place. I saw like water and plants and stuff like that.
Think you
Yeah.
had a past life in inner Earth?
Yeah, I did like a hypnosis session. I ended up
Okay.
I ended up in Atlantis, and
It
then
always
after
comes
that,
back to Atlantis.
yeah, and then I went down the tunnels and I saw inner Earth beings, and so I found out that I have been in inner Earth and actually I just did an inner Earth activation on my YouTube channel like 2 weekends ago.
Mhm.
And whenever I did that, we called on the inner Earth beings, connected with them, and did like a guided activation. And with that, I found out, yes, I had actually helped lead people from Atlantis down to inner Earth, and I actually had a connection with inner Earth. So that was like news to me.
Oh, okay. So this was brand new information. You never saw this in a book. You never heard about this or anything like that.
No, yeah, it was pretty brand new. I found out about that right after the lady who did the hypnosis session on me. She had like a video of a hypnosis session she did with her and her friend, and one of them was like in Atlantis, and there was like everything was like hitting the fan, stuff was hitting the fan, and they had to like leave really quick. And she was like opening up a portal to go down into inner Earth, and that really struck with me. I was like, that's
Wow.
interesting. Yeah. And then shortly after, whenever I was doing the inner Earth activation, I found out that I also, but she was from, actually, she wasn't in Atlantis. She was in Lemuria. I
Gotcha.
wasn't, yeah, I was in Atlantis though. So then it was confirmed with me as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So just to add more credit to your story, I don't know if you're ever read any Dolores Cannon's material, but there's a section in there where before Atlantis fell, they were opening up tunnels and portals to get down to the inner Earth. Like some of them decided to leave because the Earth energy was too dense, too negative for what was happening, and they didn't want to be part of that anymore. So when they left, besides some of them went to Egypt, France, Europe, and so on, even North America, South America, they said, that's it, we're done. Everything, we're spiritual people, we're getting out of here. And they did their portals and their cave work, and they wind up going to inner Earth as well. So to add more credit to that. So I don't know if you knew that as well, but that's pretty cool that you had that experience.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I haven't read any of, well, I do have a couple of her books, but I haven't read any of them yet. Do you remember which one that was? I'm curious.
Let's
She's
see.
got a lot.
Out of the 6 books I've read. So I'm pretty sure it's Convoluted Universe, and then someone can comment below because a lot of the viewers know a lot of this information. If I'm not mistaken, I want to guess it might be Convoluted Universe Part 1 or Part 2.
Okay.
It might be in one of those. I don't think it's in the Atlantis section. It's just one of those side stories, just a small clip, where they'll say, yeah, where they're talking about in an Earth, and then they'll tie in like, yeah, one of the reasons why we went there was because of what was going on with the negativity of what was happening on the surface of the Earth. And they wanted to become more spiritual. And they were done with the Earth experiment. So I was like, wait a minute. And I was still new, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're an experiment.
Yeah.
Did the blue being had any other information? Was she a Palladian or was she something else?
She told me she was Lyran.
Lyran? Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like there's going to be more that's going to come out about that, about her to me. I feel it just recently. I've been feeling like she may resurface to teach me and show me more. And basically she just taught, I was brand new to all of this. I wasn't even like spiritual before this. So she taught me a lot. She was guiding me through just everything, really, everything that I know.
And I find it interesting. So in a way, this kind of started recently for you.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
For everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess explain what was your life before, and now explain your life afterwards.
Well, I was a nutritionist. I was making nutrition and health content, and I taught nutrition and cooking classes for a university here around the community. And so I was doing that. Like, I was very much into that. I wanted to help change the world. And, I was an educator. I made content. And I had I had an awakening years prior after hitting a rock bottom. And I've always been drawn to the universe and to space and drawn to ancient cultures and just consciousness. I was studying the science of consciousness whenever I had my first UFO sighting.
So it's like you was opening that door a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I ended up like quitting my job shortly before my first UFO sighting. I was basically just under the stars, like at a loss what to do. And then that's when the UFOs came and then flipped my world upside down.
Perfect.
And now it's become my life.
Very, very interesting. It's crazy how it always happens, So it's like layers. It's like one thing leads to another, to another, to another. Yeah. And I know we didn't really get into too many details of what we were going to talk about, but I know you mentioned the UFOs, and I know you're a photographer and you have these photos and videos as well. Are you able to share any by any chance?
Yeah, I can do that.
And I'll try my best to describe it over the podcast part of it.
Mm-hmm. Let me find my folder here.
Have you been able to see anything new lately?
Whenever I was at the Grand Canyon, the sky cleared up for a minute, and I saw like a little one go by, kind of squiggled by, and I was like, was I just seeing that, or is that you? And I saw another one, and then I was like, all right guys, you're gonna have to make it more obvious than that if that's you. And then immediately I saw a big smiley face in the sky, like stars in the sky shaped like a smiley face. So besides that, it's probably been a couple months since I've physically seen anything. But yeah, for a while I was making contact every day. But now they kind of backed away a little bit in helping me focus more on like meditation and the activation.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I mean, if you think about it, if they show themselves too much, be like, what's all this activity going on over here? The next thing you know it, you're on someone's radar.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that that didn't happen to me, or I was seeing them every day.
Special 3-letter agency be like, we need to talk to this person.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just show you guys a couple of my astrophotography first. This is
Okay.
this is a photo of the Andromeda Galaxy that I took.
So you was able to take that with your
with
telescope? With your
with my camera. So I have a big lens that's basically like sticking a little telescope on the end of your camera. It's a 300 millimeter lens, and then you take a bunch of photos and you have to stack them all together. But yes, that's what I took with my
Okay. So right
camera.
now it looks like we're looking at a galaxy, a golden galaxy.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks pretty amazing.
And then here's just another picture. The Pleiades is right there.
Okay. That looks very jumbled up too. The little star cluster.
Yeah, there's the Orion Nebula. And so let's see.
So you started off taking photos of space, and then later on you got a little bit more than what you bargained for.
Yes, exactly. So, and here's one of my best ones. It is a UFO. I actually caught this in 3 different photos, and it looks different in each photo. It was like it was manifesting, in making shape. And this was, I'd set up like a time lapse and it was only there for a few seconds. I got it in 3 photos and then it was gone. But it was during a CE5, so you can see me meditating right there.
Okay.
I had the camera set up, and then the UFO is right there. So that's
It almost looks like the bayou. That reminds me of down there in the bayou.
Yeah, I liked this spot by the lake. This is from my second encounter when I was surrounded by UFOs at the astronomy park. So you'll see the lights here, and then they give me a light beam. So you'll see a beam of light appear right there.
Okay, so right now we're looking at 3 dots on the video. It almost looks like a triangle. Oh, and one of them beams up, lights up.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Wow. It almost lights up. Almost, you think that's a UFO spaceship right there? Just like the 3 lights make one ship.
I'm not exactly sure what the shape of it was. I got some photos of it, and it was like phasing in and out of the reality. But I do think that either it was 2 ships or 1 big one.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you kind of see as you go through the video, like shadowy between, you got the triangle 3 dots, and then you also got the dot that's all the way to the right, like some kind of shadow effect is happening.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because above the spots where I caught these video, it's kind of hard to see, but it's like this weird effect above it. It's almost like an almost see-through, like waves or static appeared above in the videos. And I saw it with my eyes too. It looked like very just dark, some weird, I don't know what it was, but some weird stuff like irradiating off of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And so that one was right in front of me, probably like 50 feet and 60 feet.
I guess this would be like your second experience.
Yep.
Okay.
Second experience. That was one of the
Did you tell anybody like, oh my God, look at this? Or were you like, or were you nervous to show anybody?
Oh yeah, I was messaging somebody while I was up there. I was like, I think I'm surrounded by UFOs. I don't know what to do. and then I recorded a lot of footage. So, and I went back the next 2 nights because I wanted to see if they'd appear again. And I did try showing people, and nobody really, at first nobody believed me. They didn't, but now they do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is during another CE5. I set up the camera to take, consecutive photos, and I went out and asked them if they could appear, and I got this appears, oh no, it was only in 1 photo. So I was taking a bunch of photos back to back. So it only appeared in one photo, and it looks like it's like two black triangles, and then there's some sort of a rip or a tear there, like a line. Like it almost looks like it's like tearing space-time or a
Right.
portal.
Did you have the camera? Was it on a time delay kind of thing, or aperture delay?
It was on, so it would take photos every second.
Okay.
Yeah. So it took a photo every second.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
wonder if that was like part of them moving, and that's why there's a line. So for the people on the podcast, it kind of looks like two black triangles with a black line, squiggly line,
Mhm.
moving across.
Yeah.
And Lily's just in foreground, and she's just walking in perfect opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this picture. They've done this 2 times where I've asked them to appear and they've appeared with me in the photo. I just think it's super cool and poetic.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you and then another thing is like you're in the picture, so
Mhm.
it makes it even more interesting.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay, so in this one is a light being that I caught.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got the nudge to take a picture, and
Oh my
I got
goodness, you kind of, I don't know about you, but I guess you can kind of see some hands and somewhat of some feet, like
it almost looked like a head.
yeah, like a small light being. So it's actually pretty neat. There's multiple lines, and it's a very glowy effect. Wow.
Yeah, and there's little rainbows in it.
Yes, that kind of like at the bottom.
Yeah. But
Oh.
I didn't know who this was
Mm-hmm.
for the longest, and I just recently found out that this is actually a 12D Andromedan, like an energetic being that began manifesting. And I couldn't see this with my eyes. What I found through a lot of this is you can feel them. I felt, I felt them around me.
Oh, wow.
But they show up on camera. So there's some sort of like wave of light that the cameras can pick up that our eyes can't.
I bet. It almost looks like you can see a little bit of a hand, like their left hand.
Yeah. It's
When you
crazy.
when you zoomed in, you can definitely see it. Like
Crazy.
kind of like with the, I guess there's a black mat on the ground. It
Yeah.
looks like that could be like he or she's left hand.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So, yeah, I like that one. um let's see. I'll show you one other one. This is during a CE5 where I was out during the day. Sometimes whenever I began filming them during the day, a lot of time they'd show up as an orb. And a lot of time I couldn't see them with my eyes, but they show up on the camera, but I could feel them. And you could just feel the very intense energy. So I was communicating with them, and there was like a bunch of orbs going by, and then a really big orb will appear that does some crazy geometrical shapes. So
Mm.
you can see little orbs by the sun.
Okay, one flying through the sky.
Yep. And then there's this really big one. It replays it.
Almost looks like a butterfly. Like a, I guess you would call it like a golden prism just
I call it
floating.
like a Rubik's Cube because it
Yeah,
kind of
like a
looks like a
Rubik's
Rubik's
cube just floating and twirling around.
Yeah.
And it's transparent.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. It looks like, yeah.
I've also caught orbs that actually have like the silhouette of a being, like little orbs though. So I feel like they're projecting their consciousness in some way. So this would be like a little orb like the size of my hand, but I could see the outline of a head and shoulders and a
Mhm.
triangle next to it. Very interesting. I guess I'll show you. There's one more. Oh, you may not be able to see this one very well, but this is a group of orbs that was in a field near me. It was like 3, and then it turned into like 5 orbs, and one of the orbs split into 2.
I see that. So right
Yeah.
now it looks like 3 small, to me, from my version, it looks like pin lights. But I guess when you was there, they were bigger. Probably when you was there, they weren't so small. They were probably bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one was strange. That one was, yeah, in the field near me. Yeah, that one tripped me out. It was in the field, like right near me. And that's one of the other ones where there was like some weird dark fuzzy stuff coming out, like radiating from above them. And
Wow.
that's it.
Thank you very much. I guess you have others, but I guess like you just keep them, like those are your
Well,
favorites and everything.
yeah, those are my favorites. I do have some other ones, and I probably have a lot more, but I need, so what I every day I was making contact with them and filming them. That's what I did every day for like 6 months. All last summer, that's what I was doing. So I had so much footage, like literally like a full hard drive filled with footage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They wouldn't be in every single one, so I'd have to like comb through. So there's probably still ones that I don't, know that I have. Yeah, those are some of my top favorites.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, with that being said, so all this was happening at the same time. So you was getting the videos of the UFOs, you was seeing them, and then you was having experience at the same time as well, or the ET experiences happened later on.
So they began like shortly after I started seeing them. The first time that I made contact with them, initiated contact, and I saw a UFO and it sent me the telepathic vision. After that, I began like sensing them and would begin receiving messages from them. So it was like a process. And also, whenever I would see them or feel them, like my ears would ring, or I would suddenly feel like a lot of love, like a really high vibration. It would make me emotional. I would cry like all the time. It was just a very like pure, loving feeling, very beautiful feeling. So that's how it started. And I would begin, getting those feelings, and then I began receiving messages.
Gotcha. Interesting. You mentioned a ship. Were you physically on the ship, or just telepathically on the ship, or just out of body experience on the ship?
It's like telepathically. I feel like it's like remote viewing, but I know that I've been on the ship before. They just have not allowed me to remember it, but I know I have. There was one night where I was sleeping and I just jolted awake, like wide awake. Right before I jolted wide awake, I suddenly was like having a dream, or was like in the middle of like a beam of light, and I could feel it on my body, like the high vibration of it, the high frequency, and it was crazy. It was like I could literally feel this beam. It was like nothing I've ever felt before in my life. Like I was getting beamed up or beamed back down, and then I jolted awake, and I was like, was I just in the ship?
You're like, wait a minute, what's going on over here?
Yeah. So I know that I have, but I just don't know the details yet. I haven't been able to like remember being like physically on the ship.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, if you was on the ship, what was your experience like? What happened, and so on. And that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I wish, in the beginning, it was really good about like any questions that I had answered like immediately. And I feel like recently there are some things that they are waiting to tell me at the perfect timing. Yeah.
Sounds about right. You don't want to give too much information out, especially you're just starting off on this journey and everything. You don't want to be bombarded with everything.
I was super bombarded. And now I got used to it. I'm like, all right, give it to me.
Now they hit the brakes on you, like, digest this
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, they're like, they really want me to focus on the doing like the live activations on in YouTube. They've shown me visions of, you know, YouTube and growing a following and getting more people in on these on the live activations, because that helps them to activate too. And they're assisting me in channeling, channeling that. But people have had experiences after the live activation. Somebody had a blue orb manifest in their house.
Really?
Yeah, after the Arcturian meditation. And I know that Arcturians, I've heard this from 2 other people, that they were visited by a blue orb that was Arcturian.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you this information for the activations. What is your videos that they consist of, the online activations?
So the online activations are, it's on YouTube on every Sunday at 2:00 p.m. Central Time. And basically we get together, all share stuff on like different topics. So we've done the Pleiadians one day, called in the Pleiadians, shared a couple messages from them, and then basically the star beings assist me with like a supercharged Reiki session on the group. We meditate together, and I'm guiding everybody through it. A lot of people feel physical sensations, and so yeah, we'll do different topics each week, and people are feeling like really crazy physical sensations and spiritual and just mental sensations from these activations. So it's helping to activate people's gifts and helping them to connect to higher realms and activate their DNA, and also connect with their cosmic family. So I do those every Sunday, and then I make other content on like kind of stories, experiences, things I've learned, starseed stuff, starseed awakening.
Correct. What is a CE5 practitioner? What is that?
So CE5 is human initiated contact with UFOs. So that's like, instead of you just being outside and then a UFO pops up, this is where you are intentionally asking to make contact and inviting them. So that's what I was focusing really heavily on before, and what the star beings were teaching me, because I was like seeing them and actually like physically and feeling them physically like each day. So that's a big thing. There's like, if you've ever heard of Dr. Greer, he's a big CE5 enthusiast. And I found out about Dr. Greer not too long after this started for me. And he has pretty good protocols for it, but it's basically the same thing. You can meditate for it, and you're just, reaching out to connect and have that experience, and also be like an ambassador of Earth.
Yeah, you get to have a conversation with yourself, with the blue being.
Yeah, that is really, really, really interesting. I actually, not too long ago, after I said the blue woman, I felt her and saw her a lot. She was teaching me a lot, and then suddenly it was like she was gone, and I felt like, she helped me with what she needed to help me with. A little bit later, sometimes I'll get sad because I miss her.
Where are you?
Yeah, she became like my best friend. And there was a time, and I've heard this from 2 other people about themselves, but I was in the bathtub, and I looked up into my reflection in like the metal, and I saw her face looking back at me.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And during my reading sessions, I've had 2 other people say that. This lady's like, I've never told anybody this, but one day I was like walking in the hallway, I looked in the mirror, and I saw somebody like an ET's face looking back at me. And I was like, oh my God, the same thing happened to me.
Oh, that's cool. Was it a past life regression that you had earlier when you was talking about? Was it?
It was
Or
it
was
was
it
like a hypnosis.
hypnosis?
Not necessarily past life, but basically the 2 things that I went back to were Atlantis, bits of inner Earth, but I have had 2 spontaneous regressions where it just happened like randomly. One, I was out on a jog, and the
Oh,
other,
okay.
yeah, the other one, it was Christmas Eve, and I was like doing my makeup, and I just happened. It was really interesting.
Did you see anything or sense anything, or was it just a download?
Yeah, all three. The first one in these were past lives that were affecting me negatively. And
Mm,
so at first, for one of them, I sensed Syrians. I just got like kind of the notification that Syrians are here. I was like, okay. And then suddenly, like, whoosh, this feeling comes down, and it was like a download. I was burned at the stake as a witch back in the Middle
uh-oh.
Ages. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And I closed my eyes and I saw the vision burning at the stake. And then I felt, the pain. I just started like bawling and had the realization that that life was very deeply scarring. And because of that life, it was still affecting me today, where I was afraid to speak my truth because I had been murdered for it, and afraid to be, my authentic self.
Hmm.
So they basically just
I've
showed up
heard
and
this
said
a
it.
few times.
Yeah, I think it could be like a common thing with us, with healers and star seeds and everything, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's so many people out there that have a past life as a witch. They were burned at the stake, and then when they go to speak their truth or speak their inner wisdom, they have this fear that comes about them, and they're not able to get out the words, and it's that trauma. And then when they have their sessions and everything, and pretty much it's like everything's going to be okay. You're safe now. You can talk about these things, and look at all the stuff that you hear about on YouTube and so on, that you hear all these people talk about their experience and their inner knowledge that they have. So by you saying all that, it's like, yeah, I've heard this quite a few times. What was the Atlantis stuff about? Was it just a glimpse of it, or?
Yeah, it was just a glimpse. I'm actually going to be doing an Atlantis activation soon. What I found whenever I do these activations, I'll plan it kind of like the week beforehand, what I'm going to do. Whenever I decided to do Inner Earth, suddenly I began being visited by Inner Earth beings and learned more about Inner Earth. Whenever I
Gotcha.
did the Andromeda one, Andromedan beings stepped forward and they taught me. So I'm planning on doing an Atlantis one soon, and I know that more information.
That's pretty cool. So you put on your calendar, Atlantis one's coming up next, and it's like, ooh, this is some opportunities to talk about this, and this with her, give her downloads.
Yeah, and then I just automatically, I won't always be visited by them, but yeah, basically.
Okay. And when's that supposed to happen?
Well, this weekend we're doing the Lionsgate portal, guiding through the Lionsgate portal, and then I believe the weekend after that we should be doing Atlantis, which
14th.
would be, yeah.
Cool. Well, I look forward to that. Anything with Atlantis has my attention to it, so I look forward to it. I'll hurry up and try to edit this video so the viewers and the listeners can join in as well.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah. I'm looking forward to learning more. I haven't dived too much into Atlantis or my past life in there. I know I was a male, and in that apparently I'd helped people go down to Inner Earth, helped lead people down there, I guess, to escape.
Gotcha. Interesting. Maybe you was part of that story I read in her book.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Was there anything else with you mentioned your future self? Was there any other information that came through besides the message?
That was it. And I tried seeing if I could contact her again. I think she just came for that one message. But I will say, after the SSP program conference, the day after, I went out to eat with Tyler and Aaron, and I had something happen with my health, and I ended up having to go to the emergency room, and I got a concussion.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very scary. And I just knew afterwards that there was no coincidence that happened the day after the SSP conference, and I felt like it was like opening a new chapter. In the concussion that I had at the SSP conference, somebody had, I don't remember who it was one of the women speakers, said that her memories began coming back after she got a bad concussion. So since that, I have began seeing different ETs. I've begun seeing Andromedans, but I didn't know that they were Andromedan at first. They look like grays, similar to grays. I found out during the right after the Andromeda activation that the grays I had been seeing were actually Andromedan.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, 12D Andromedans, but they're using bodies that look similar to grays to come down to this dense environment to work with us more hands-on. Very interesting. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so the Andromedans stepped forward and Pleiadians stepped forward.
So all this happened at the hospital or afterwards?
No, this has happened since after the hospital in May. So
Okay.
it's all been unfolding. And so the Andromedans stepped forward, and that's when I met them. And I think that the picture I showed you of the light being is one of those Andromedans. But when they've shown themselves to me, I see them, they look similar to grays.
Okay, so the picture of the photo with the light being with the sparkly rainbow light image. Gotcha.
Yeah, I believe
Maybe.
that was the Andromedan. And Pleiadians I've been seeing and hearing Pleiadians. They've told me, I was meditating, they told me that they were testing my psychic abilities. I think they're helping. Yeah. I was like, really, guys? They're helping. Yeah, they're kind of like testing things out, helping me to develop my gifts and develop communication with them. But I recently found out that this is like a crew of Pleiadians that are nearby, that are actually in the skies around the solar system. I don't know specifically if I am one of the Pleiadians on that ship yet. I'm still learning more about them. But yeah, it's a crew with 2 males, a female, and a mantis being.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's what's been going on lately.
And you had a vision of that or out of body experience kind of thing with that one?
Yeah, it was a vision, a couple of visions.
Okay. For me, when the airplane landed in St. Louis, I had this crazy headache. It felt like pins and needles right here. Like never felt anything like that. Felt like a sea urchin. Spikes like right here, and I'm like, oh man, I was like, what the hell is this all about? I was like, don't tell me I'm getting a bad headache before the conference and everything. And it lasted for like a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, and then it kind of like died down and went away. And then by the time I was able to focus on what I needed to focus on for the rental car and everything, I was like, okay, I feel a lot better now. And because I was like, what was that all about? So I asked Tracy about it, and in that session, she was kind of saying that the information came ahead of time instead of me being at the conference thinking the conference had something to do with it. They said they timed it on the airplane, so I would think the airplane had something to do with it. So I was like, okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I feel like that conference was definitely very activating, and a lot of it just. I slept for like almost a month after the concussion.
Wow.
Yeah, they were telling me rest, and I was like, why am I so freaking tired? But yeah, sometimes I'll get headaches and stuff too. I think that's you being like activated.
I remember Suzanne asked me questions about it. She was like, oh, okay, so did you experience lost time? I said, no, not really. Have you experienced anything, like ETs, contacts with ETs? I said, no, not really. I said, I thought about it, but I can't recall anything. And I kept on thinking about different little things throughout my life. I was like, no, I can't. I said, no, I don't have that. I don't have that. And then when Tony was up there and he was giving his speech and he was like talking about his experience at the doctor's visit, and they were like, tell me about your dreams. And I was like, oh boy. I said, I can relate to that because I remember seeing a certain therapist, a speech therapist, and we really didn't do speech therapy. And I saw her for like years. And for the most part, it was like, tell me about your dreams kind of thing. And growing up, I always thought about it like oh, she just wants me to talk to her so I can just say my words and talk to her, but she'll never stop me. She'll never correct me and never stop me. And I was like, I always thought that was very odd. And then when Tony was up there talking about his experience and talking about that part at the end, I was like, oh, I said, I got some thinking to do. But I was like, not right now, too much going on. I said, I'll look at that later on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's one of the things that like I found out is deeper than what I could even imagine, but I haven't remembered all of it yet. I just know that there is something more.
Right.
And yeah, and I think that will begin, coming as the time's right. But yeah, it's a lot.
It's interesting. It would be very interesting if someone had a session and they're like, if they could read the room and say, hey, what's the connection between all of them? Perfect example is when they had a class, a QHHT class in Miami, and the connection was there was some healing that needed to be done during the times of Atlantis dealing with animal DNA and human DNA. And there was some healing that needed to be done. And that was the whole connection between the whole group. So because they had to release all this trauma that they experienced. And it was very interesting because Sarah was telling me, she's like, I couldn't understand why people were coughing. Like, why were they coughing? And they were coughing up the dust and the smoke from the burnt bodies and everything. And I was like, what a coincidence. There is no coincidences.
Wow.
Everything happens for a reason. And
Yeah.
one of the questions I wanted to ask you was about the human hybrid program. You have any knowledge about that? Any information? Were you, seeing anything, any downloads of any type of information?
So one of the first people that I did a reading for, first thing I saw through vision were these like eyes. They looked like human eyes, except for they were way bigger, but they had pupils and everything. They just like popped open. And I was like, whoa. And I realized it was a kid. It was his hybrid child. So I had to tell this guy that he had a hybrid child. And I saw the mother. She was wearing a dress. She looked gray like a taller gray, but she felt positive. It felt positive. She actually visited me. Normally ETs that I see in visions don't from readings, they don't visit me. She visited me like 3 times after that. Come to find out, me and him have lived a past life together and we're more, interconnected. But so he has a positive experience with these benevolent Zeta beings, and is a part of a hybrid program. So I know that from that. I think there are positive and negative ones.
I've heard.
Yeah, so positive and negative ones. What I've gotten from it is it's to help, mix the DNA and help create a better, not a better species, but to help the galaxy. And it sounds like the intentions of it are good, and it's gonna be good. Recently, I have been seeing visions of babies, and so I feel like there's something more going on with that. Maybe I don't, know yet, but
Okay. Because the question would be if you had any information about, and I want to start a new series. So once when I'm finished with the New Earth versus New World Order, I want to start a new series of questions as well that deals with the human hybrid program, because Sarah had some awesome information that dealt with it. And I wanted to pick your brain about it as well, to see if you had anything, especially with you being, having contact with the ETs as well. And I wanted to see if you had any connection with it. So you could be on video number 2.
Yeah, I don't have too much information on it, but I do know somebody who does have a hybrid child. I've seen the child and spoken with the child's mother.
That's interesting. So you was doing a reading for a client and everything. Was this that star chart reading that you do, or was this something else that you was doing?
Oh, star origins reading.
Star Origins reading.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, if you're ever
He's
interested
from
in,
Zeta. He's from Zeta Reticuli, and he has Pleiadian as well.
okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Well, if you're interested in one of those readings and you want to find out about your ET contacts and ET connections, you can have a star reading with you.
Yeah, I also do coaching and star seed coaching and consulting. But I really want I'm going to be making DNA activation kits very soon. So I'm very excited about those. I'm going to collaborate with the star beings to make
Oh,
little activation kits that will help jumpstart your DNA activation.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I see it on here, DNA activator. So these are kits, like physical kits.
I'm going to it'll be like a digital product. It'll have some videos, some channelings, different things that you can do, kind of like a routine, like a little mini program and things that you could listen to that will activate your DNA.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
That's
super
pretty
excited
cool.
about those. Super
Is this
excited.
to help activate or upgrade your DNA? Is that what that's for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did they mention anything about the new Earth or anything like that? 5D Earth. Did they mention anything about that?
They just tell me to focus on activating everybody's DNA
Well, in a
and
way, it
keep
probably
positive.
goes hand in hand in a way.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, I will say that recently whenever I did I did an inner earth activation a couple weeks ago. And whenever I did that, another version of me visited me. And he told me that he showed me like 5+ earths and told me that parallel realities are joining together, that our versions of ourselves from these parallel realities are coming to assist us.
I heard something similar to that. Something like multiple timelines converging onto one, coming together. So it's kind of like if you have multiple timelines spread out, it's like they're getting closer together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they're crossing and compressing. It was told.
Scientifically exactly how that works, but
Gotcha. Let the scientists figure that one out, right?
I mean, I'm excited to find out, but yeah, that's the information I got on that so far.
Perfect.
I feel very positive for the future.
Oh, absolutely. I hear a lot of great things about it. I know we have to get through all this roughness and all this
Heal
hardship and
and activate.
yeah, work through the good, the bad, the ugly, get through all this, and certain things need to crumble, certain things need to fall.
Yeah.
And it's going to be
Exactly.
scary at first, but then multiple sessions have said that everything's going to come together, be beautiful, things will get better.
Mm-hmm.
So that we have plenty of help, plenty of things going on.
Yep, exactly. And for those who may be like waiting, okay, when are the ETs going to come down? Well, they're already here. They're helping us on more of an individual, personal level. You can connect with your cosmic family spiritually, no matter who you are. And like we were talking about, a lot of these ETs are other versions of us, so they care about us. They love us because we are them.
Right.
Yeah.
Took me a while to wrap my mind around that. Like, wait a minute, how are we them? Are we them like physically them? Or are we them like DNA wise? And then it's like, oh, in a way, it's like everything you could think of, spiritual, soul wise. They share the same soul.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know scientifically 100% how it works, but you get an understanding of it. For them, before they come down here physically, we're going to have to begin remembering. We're going to have to begin activating and raising our vibration, or else they won't, before they come out and shake our hand.
Gotcha. Any tips and advice? What we got to remember and activate? I know you got the DNA activator, but is there something else?
Yeah, then that's something that'll be in like the DNA activation kits. What what I would do affirmations and mantras every day. You know, I am remembering who I truly am, and healing. A lot of it is, before you can get up to that next level, you have to drop your baggage. So a lot of it is healing work. Meditation helps 1,000,000%.
I heard it always comes back to meditation. I heard.
Yeah, I mean, that's like that's the jump starter there, really. So many, yeah, that's really important. If you don't like meditating, you could spending time in nature, you know, jogging, stargazing, things like that, or anything like creative. For me, whenever I was connecting with them, is whenever I was shooting photography, because that was my creative passion. So I would feel them as soon as I got into like a flow state. It's like they were letting me know, okay, your vibration's high enough, you know, you're connected while you're in this flow state. So yeah, focusing on that, raising your vibration, activating, listening to frequency music, and just working on yourself, coming together.
Nice. Has any of your listeners or subscribers ever said, hey, I did what you did with the photography, took my camera out, went outside, started taking pictures of the stars? You know, have you ever got any responses back?
I've had some people like email me pictures of the moon and stuff that they've taken. Yeah.
Okay. And for your friends and family, what do they think about all this, since this is kind of recent for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, at first they didn't believe me. Now I'm open about it, and they see that, you know, I didn't drop it. It wasn't a phase. I'm sticking to my story. So now I'm pretty open with, you know, yeah, I'm talking to the aliens and like, I don't care. And so they're really,
Gotcha.
they're cool about it now. They're really cool about it.
They didn't like, oh, we're going to leave this one alone. You know,
Yeah, they may
I
not
call her
fully
up.
understand it, but they're just like, all right, you know, whatever. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm doing better now than I was, you know, a
Right,
year
right.
ago. So I'm doing something right.
And also, you know, you brought up that you was burned at the stake as a witch. I mean, that's part of healing as well, because now be able to move past that. You don't hold on to that fear. Did they come to you for advice, or did they have any questions on the slide?
What's that?
Your
The
friends,
family?
yeah, your friends or family, did they actually like certain questions on the slick, like
Surprisingly, no. Like, I've had some conversations with my mom. She like saged the house for the first time a little bit ago, and she went to go see a psychic, but we don't talk about it too much. And my friends, um, you know, I'm pretty open about it, but I don't physically like hang out with that many people. Most of the people that I'm talking to are already, you know, in it.
Gotcha. The reason why I bring it up is because my brother never talks about any of this stuff. None of this is on his radar. And then he was asking me, what's it called? Darkness of the soul, shadow of
Yeah,
the
the Dark
soul,
Knight.
dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I knew anything about it. Said, doesn't sound too familiar to me. I was like, what's going on? Are you okay? I was like, you know, do we need to see a doctor or something for you? I was like, what's happening? And he tells me what's going on, and I'm like, I was like, okay, this is interesting, but I'm not too familiar with it. He goes, well, I figure I asked you since you're into all this stuff. I was like, wait a minute. I said, I know only just a little bit about different things. I said, I'm not fully familiar with everything. And so I thought that was
That's
interesting
cool.
that he was asking me certain things about it, and about alchemy and geometry and sacred geometry. And I'm like, where did my brother go? You know?
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's just gonna start happening more and more and more.
Right. So that's why I was wondering if you had any experiences like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Sort of, yeah. But most of the people that I talk to are already kind of like are
Already
already,
there.
yeah, they're already there. But yeah, the others are
Okay.
coming along too.
Oh, before I forget this question, you mentioned that you saw the spaceships with the dinosaurs and everything. So that tells me this maybe not a long time ago. And I was wondering, you mentioned that it was the ET war. Now, if you ever come across this information in one of your sessions or, visions, anything like that, but there was a war between Mars and Maldek. And I was wondering if there's any connection between the two. Because it was a very long time ago. And since it was a very long time ago, and you mentioned there was a war, I'm like, I wonder if that was the connection.
Yeah,
between the two.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm gonna definitely see if I can find out.
Right. Because even that, there's a healing that is there that we need to work on, even with that part between, like, we're even connected to the Mars and Maldek situation for us old souls. And it was pretty cool because my first client, she had a past life, and she had a past life on Maldek, and they were at war with Mars. And when you brought that up, I was like, man, I want to know if there's any connection. If you,
I'm curious. I will let you know if anything about that comes up.
Perfect. Was there anything else that you was experiencing or like to share?
I think that is about it.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for everything. Thank you for coming on. And your YouTube channel is doing phenomenal. So you're getting thousands and thousands of views, it looks like. So you're doing pretty good with something.
Yeah, it's popping off. And that's the number one thing that the star beings have showed me whenever I was asking, okay, what do I focus on? Showed me the singing bowls and the live activations in YouTube. That's what
they're like, focus.
Yep.
Focus on that.
That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And I'll have a link in the description below to her YouTube channel. You have a website as well. The website name?
LilyNovaSpaceArt.com.
And if someone wants to contact you, they can go through the website for any readings and so on.
Yep, on the website or in my link tree. I can send that to you if you'd like, but there's like a contact form on that, but also the website. Yeah, there's a contact.
Okay. And I'll have the link in the description for that as well. And I think that's it. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was very nice meeting you.
Yep, same here. Well, thank you very much. And if you ever get any more information, just let me know, because I would like to do another episode with you and add to the collection.
Okay.
And I look forward to your Atlantean starseed activation. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited about it.
All right.
Hope to see you there.
All right. Well, you take care.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.